Hello, and welcome to Time Between Times Storytelling. It's me, Owen, with another tale for you at the Time Between Times. As you're probably aware, those of you who are watching this when the video comes out, Halloween is just around the corner. The time when the time between times is wider, thicker, more intense. The time when the veil between our world and the fairy world grows wafer thin. The time when ghosts step into our world and we step into theirs. So, for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to be bringing you some classic ghost stories. Some tales from the other world. Tales of the paranormal. So, sit back, relax, leave behind your cares and worries. Forget all that is happening and just close your eyes and imagine yourself around the fireplace. We can hear the howl of wolves. We can hear the growl of bears. But we know we are safe. Here at the time between times, we listen, we learn, we sit back and we watch. And we know that this is the time of stories, a time to leave all behind and travel with me back to Conwy in North Wales, 400 years ago. There lies Plas Mawr, right in the middle of the high street, a great whitewashed Tudor mansion, one of the finest examples of its kind in all of Britain. And in that Tudor mansion, there is a room called the Lantern Room, one of the most haunted rooms in all of Britain. And this story comes back when the time it had first been built, when it was owned by a great Tudor lord called Robert Wynne and his wife Dorothy, his young child Henry, and another child on the way. But in one night in Plas Mawr in Conwy, something happened that made this one of the most haunted buildings in all of Britain. So let me take you back to that time, that night, all those years ago in Plas Mawr. It is a huge whitewashed Tudor mansion with a tower that stretches to the sky. And many years ago, Dorothy, the wife of Robert Wynne, took her young son Henry up the winding stairs that lead up the large tower that stretches to the sky. There they were waiting for Robert to return from London, where he had been to see the great Queen Elizabeth. They waited and they waited and they waited. The servants called them downstairs for their supper, but they did not come, for they still looked far out towards the castle, waiting to see if Robert would ride his horse up. He had been away for over 6 weeks, and they were keen to see him. The sun set. The time between times came, and still they watched, looking for that torchlight on the road. But eventually they gave up. There was no horse. There was no torch. There was no bang at the door. He was not coming this night. Disappointed, they turned and started to make their way down the stone steps that lead down from the tower, down towards the lantern room. Henry was tired and grumpy, for he had waited all day for his father. Dorothy took her eye off him for but a second, and he slipped on one of the stones, perhaps on some water that had been left behind from one of the servants had brought them refreshments, and he tumbled down the stairs. His mother went out to grab him, and she tumbled as well, down one flight of steps, down the second flight, until they landed in a heap at the bottom of the stairs. The servants came running. They were panicked. They grabbed hold of Dorothy and see if she was all right. Both she and the child were badly injured, and they knew that she was with child as well, so they panicked and ran out into the town to fetch the doctor. They ran through the streets of Conwy, knocking on the doors, trying to find the local doctor, and they could not find him. But in a local inn, there was a young man called Dr. Jenkins, who had sat there was just travelling through. He had not been a doctor for long, and he agreed to come and see the lady of the house and the young child. The servants led him up to Plas Mawr, under the archway that leads into the courtyard, and hammered on the great wooden door. In he went, up the stairs to the lantern room, where Dorothy lay on a bed. So did Henry. Dr. Jenkins could quickly see that he could not heal these. They were beyond his power. He had only been a doctor for a short period of time, and he knew nothing of the injuries that occurred them. He called one of the servants, and nervously he said, "I'm sorry for wasting your time, but a more experienced doctor would be needed here. Call for the local doctor, for I know he is well respected throughout the land. I am going to go." He went to leave, but the servants felt that they could not leave them behind alone, so they said to him, "You will not leave till the other doctor comes to see to them." And they closed the door, leaving Dr. Jenkins inside with Dorothy and the young child. He hammered on the door, saying, "Look, I need to go. I know. You must stay in there until a more experienced physician arrives." One of the servants ran out into the street and started to call for the local doctor. Up and down the streets he went. But meanwhile, back in the house, the door to the lantern room remained closed. It was gone midnight when a hammering came on the great door, and one of the servants opened it up to see the master of the house, Robert Wynne, had returned. They immediately told him of the horrors that had happened in that evening, and Robert rushed up to the lantern room. The door had been barred from outside, but he opened it and rushed inside. Of Dr. Jenkins, there was no sign. He rushed over to the bed where Dorothy lay. Henry lay. Called again for the servant who had gone out for the physician, and closed the door. Night passed, and the following morning the servants opened the door, and inside found Dorothy, Henry, and Robert Wynne, all dead. Dorothy and Henry had died of their injuries, and Robert Wynne had taken his own life, beset by the grief that had come upon him following the death of his wife and his child. The mystery was that of the young doctor there was no sign. The servants searched the house and could not find him. The window was high up in the building and had not been opened. They did not find him. A gloom descended upon the house that lasted many years, but it was not long after that sounds could be heard. In the great tower, crying could be heard, the crying of a young child. People say that even to this day, the small child Henry can be seen skipping up and down the steps of the tower, taking the route, that fateful route that he fell all those years ago. The lantern room is one of the most haunted of them all. The ghost of Dorothy is often seen there, wailing on the bed as her children passed away. But more mysterious than that, sometimes in the walls there can be heard a knocking. Far away and faint, and the cries of a man asking for help, 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 help ochi, help ochi, help ochi, shouting in Welsh. Legend has it that poor young doctor clambered into the fireplace and tried to escape up the chimney. So fearful was he of the wrath of the older doctor, or Robert Wynne. But he became stuck and trapped in the chimney and in some of the many secret tunnels that still lie in Plas Mawr. They say his bones have yet to be discovered, for they are still there, deep within the walls of the old Tudor mansion. Of the servant who went to find the old doctor, he returned years later, bearded, old and haggard, because by a strange twist of fate, as he rushed through the streets, a press gang came upon him and took him far out to sea to work upon a boat, ship of the Queen's Navy. So the experienced doctor was never able to come. Even to this day, hundreds of years later, the cries of a child can be heard on the stairs, the knocking in the walls, and the wailing of Dorothy. But also in the Great Hall, the apparition of a Robert Wynne is often seen pacing around, up and down, trying to find that doctor who hid himself deep within the house and has yet to be found. Plas Mawr is a mysterious place. It has 365 windows, 52 stairs, just like the days in the year and the weeks of the year. A fantastic place to visit when you can, especially at the time between times. So there we are, my friends. That is the tale of the Ghosts of Plas Mawr in Conwy. I hope you enjoyed. Please take care. If you like the story, please like and subscribe. Please leave a nice comment. I hope you are all taking care, and those of you who are locked down and unable to leave your houses, I hope these stories provide a little comfort and entertainment. Diolch yn fawr for listening. I'll see you all soon. Nos da.